good to go.
Okay. I think we have two people on the phone line.
With
Hello?
Samara, right?
Samara, are you there?
There, yep.
Okay.
Jordan, are you there? Not yet, but we have quorum anyway, so I say we just...
Okay. Before we start, I'd just like to acknowledge that we are meeting on unceded Mi'kmaq territory, the homeland of the Mi'kmaq community here on PEI, on Abigwait. Thanks for meeting this evening, December the 15th, getting close to other things going on in people's lives, Christmas. So I think we're going to try and make this a 1 hour meeting or less. So hopefully we'll be out of here by 7 o'clock. Phil has to leave at 6:45, so we'll try and do all this as quickly as we can.
I have to leave at 7, which
And
means
you have to leave at 7?
everybody else does too.
Everybody has to go. Samara, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Jordan, are you there?
We should hear a beep when she comes in,
Okay.
since if
Is that how
she's
that
not
works?
there already. So.
Okay. I'll call the December 15th Charlottetown Food Council meeting to order. If we could appoint a meeting secretary.
I don't mind doing that.
You know, okay, perfect. Get that laptop. And to do declaration of conflict of interest. So having a look at the agenda, any declaration of conflict of interest? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, review and approval of the agenda.
I'd just like to add a very quick question to the group about the Food Recovery Network project.
Okay. Food Recovery Network. I would like to maybe suggest to the council if we could do the Samara Backyard Food video project and Phil at the beginning because Phil will be leaving, so if we kind of leave it to the end, we may not be able to complete it. If that's okay with everyone? Okay. Okay, can I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Phil, seconder, Brad or Sean? I'm not sure who went first. Say Brad for the minutes. Okay, moving forward. Adoption of November 24th minutes. Anyone had a chance to read? Any errors or omissions? Can I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll motion it.
Brad will motion to approve the November 24th minutes. Seconder?
Second it.
Phil will second. All in favor, say aye. Samara?
I.
Seeing no objections, motion carried. Items for discussion. So maybe we'll move to the backyard food video project. Samara, do you have something to share with council in regards to that project?
Well, after talking with Katrina a little bit, I think we decided that we would look to see if there was already videos there. Like, we kind of came to the conclusion, I think, that it was maybe a little bit of too much work when there's already stuff out there. And, like, I think we were going to kind of revisit the idea in general.
Okay.
Okay.
I looked into some of the policy issues that the city has. Gave a call, talked to, I forget her name, but one of the planners. Doesn't seem to be really any restrictions at all. And if you go on our Facebook page, you'll see a few days ago I posted a picture in Switzerland where they encourage foodscaping. And just today I posted 2 links that the city has where if you want to have a food garden box in a park near you, you can apply to the city to have them put one in. Or if you want to create a community garden somewhere in Charlottetown, you can apply for that as well. So if we create a video and have some information links, those would be, I think, good to add.
Like videos about starting a community garden kind
Yeah,
of thing?
yeah.
And, or the vegetable.
Somebody wants to start a community garden.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right, because if we're not aware of these items, maybe promoting them more would help.
Yeah, because those are new. Those were just launched maybe a year ago.
Mhm.
Those two application forms basically stemming from, there's a lot of community push for the city to have more community gardens, but not necessarily from people that need a community garden plot. And so the idea, and the city doesn't really have the capacity to do it, to be honest. So the idea being that if there's community support and community interest, then that there's now an avenue for them to do that and have city like financial resources as opposed to the staff doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know back in 2014, we had hired, the Farm Center had hired some consultants for us to rebrand the Farm Center. That's how Legacy Garden evolved. And at the time, they thought there wasn't any interest in more community gardens, that there were already a lot of community gardens. We now have 200 community garden plots at the Legacy Garden.
And they're full.
And so it could be that...
In a wait list.
Yeah, in a wait list. So it could be that maybe a lot of the people that are into community garden, at least at the Legacy Garden, tend to be newcomers. And they might not be using social media. Or they might not read and speak English very well to fill out a survey.
Yep. And I mean, we certainly could, if videos were created, or even just if it was of interest, to send those types of resources and application forms to the Newcomers Association, like to the staff, to circulate or support their clients. So Mara, is that something?
Yeah, totally, and it would be good because it's a visual too, so, and if we could get it circulating around the school, that'd be even better, and like most of my clients all have phones, so I think that's a good idea.
I'll put in a plug for the Farm Center too. Last year we sold 1,200 fruit trees. This year we ordered 1,500 or 1,600, and just went online this morning to start selling trees. And in the first 2 hours we sold over 300 trees. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. So the idea of planting fruit trees, these aren't all Charlottetown people, but there's a lot of people buying, 2 or 3 trees to put in their yard.
Great.
Good to hear.
So, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
It's really weird, don't say everybody. If we start doing projects, does that mean that we have to change? Remember we spoke about last time, either doing policy versus project. So is it okay to sometimes do projects?
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like in videos?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
The specifics of what we talk about or what we do will change from month to month, depending on what comes up for ideas and what we prioritize to do as a council. So it could be, lately it was a lot of policies, but if we see things are switching to more projects because we have more capacity, we have access to funds, then it's more project driven.
Okay, yeah, because I like the video idea. I like, especially with the newcomers. He's right, there's, I think probably over half of them are newcomers. Would I be right in saying that?
You mean at the community gardens? At the lakes?
Yeah, the plot with the legacy garden.
Would that be right, Phil? About
Yeah, I
half
think-
newcomers?
I haven't actually counted, but if it's not half, it's darn close to half.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, any kind of visual aid or like something that we could post, but where would we, how would we share it?
Well, we could put, if we made a video, we could put them with the application forms on the city website for a start.
Okay.
But we could also send direct, say to whoever would be responsible at newcomers, or we can also compile a list of other stakeholders that might be able to put them to use. If this is something that you guys did want to take on, I think you would need to meet with one of my coworkers. Her name's Jessica, and she's the lead on those 2 application forms. So I think, and she's great. Like I think she'd be very receptive to this. But just like looping her in and getting her input, and she might have ideas of that kind of thing too. She's pretty good at marketing.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'd be good.
Samara, if we have ideas and we'll figure out how to share those once the videos are developed, would you be able to come up with some kind of a budget and a timeline for some of this project?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so we know, like, where would we get the financing if we need to, and how would we do that, and the timeline, so we know what we're working towards in the next month or 2 or 3. It could be an ongoing thing, 8 months, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's true. It just depends on how many different videos do we want,
Right,
how long do you want them to be, like what exactly we're showcasing. Like we just have to sit and really have like a good discussion on that to figure that out. But that could be like one of our meetings.
Sure.
Okay.
I think, yeah, and I think just giving consideration to, like, I think videos would be good, but I don't know if we'd want like a paper resource too that could be translated or something, or maybe subtitles, something like that, if it's targeted at a newcomer population. But yeah, I'm not really sure.
Sounds like people are receptive to this idea.
Cool.
We could put it on the agenda for the new year to talk about more specifics as to how many
Okay.
videos, what kind of videos, the length,
Sure.
any associated budgets. Would that be
Perfect.
agreeable to the rest of the council?
Yeah, I think if folks are motivated to work on this project, then that's good. I just encourage folks to come forward to the coming meeting with items for discussion.
Yeah.
So for example, here's the kind of goal for the project. Here's some outputs or activities that we'd like to undertake as part of the project. Here are some, just a general budget, some anticipated costs and what they may be. And then that could give us something to respond to and hopefully provide some helpful feedback on.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Is that something you'd be able to prepare, Samara, being the videographer in the group?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So maybe we can also, you and me, Samara, and Phil, if you're interested, can sit down with Jessica maybe in advance of the January Food Council meeting, just to get her thoughts and buy-in before
Sure.
the council even kind
Yeah, I
of
think that's a good
discusses
idea.
it further.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, so we can maybe try and do that for early January.
Yeah, I won't be available till the new year, but
Yeah, that I don't think.
right early, first week of January.
I don't think anybody's available till the new year at this point.
Okay. Any more comments in regards to the backyard food video project? Before we move on?
Not me.
Thanks, Samara.
Thanks.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the other item, which would be food waste next steps. Brad and Sean.
Yeah, so I'm just bringing up the report we had done up. I think the long and short of it, Brad, is that we had met last week. We looked over the work that had been complete to date in the Google Doc, I believe. And based on that, we looked more closely into the City of Charlottetown's nuisance bylaw. We also looked into the Provincial Environmental Protection Act, specifically the resource management regulations dealing with backyard composting, and some additional information from the city of Fredericton and other municipalities on backyard composting. And the whole purpose here was to identify some potential barriers to promoting backyard composting in the city of Charlottetown, and then to propose some recommended solutions, specifically a bylaw amendment or a couple of amendments that would clarify that it is permitted and provide some parameters for how it should be done. Yeah, so I could summarize kind of what the specific recommendations are. Brad, perhaps I'll just check in with you first. Is there anything else?
No, yeah. That was essentially it. We just kind of did that next step of, getting the report. Sean, wrote up a great little summary of everything, and so if you want to identify what's on there.
Wonderful. Yep. Okay. So as folks would probably, especially who were on the council prior to myself, would be aware of, I believe it's section 3.1 or 3.12B of the city's nuisance bylaw that could present some barriers to backyard composting. It provides a very specific, possibly limiting description of waste disposal, including compost. And it specifies that it essentially can only be done through Island Waste Management Corporation. And that's a good service. It's fantastic to have that province-wide. However, folks have identified that backyard composting is seen as a means to promote two good outcomes. One is reducing food waste, and then the other is by supporting backyard food production. So it kind of dovetails nicely with some other priorities of the Food Council. So I'll perhaps jump to some of the language that we're proposing. So we went to the province's Environmental Protection Act and the Resource Management Regulations. That is what I think is a pretty good definition of backyard composting. That's defined as, and this is in quotes, composting at a residential dwelling site of organic waste, including grass clippings, leaves, or food waste, where, and then there's a couple criteria. One, the waste is generated by the residents of the dwelling unit or neighboring dwelling units or both. And two, the annual production of compost does not exceed 60 cubic meters, which just in a ballpark figure, that would be quite a bit. So that's, there's a limit there, and it doesn't seem to be excessively low. And then another thing that we borrowed from the recommendation is elsewhere in those same provincial regulations, 35 subsection 2A, it notes that the same regulations essentially provide an exception or they exempt backyard composting from another rule. So we borrowed from those two and recommend that the city's nuisance bylaw, section 3.12, be amended so that the language is similar to the Environmental Protection Act's resource management regulations. And what the language we recommend is that essentially we provide an exemption. So if we recommend that they keep the same language saying this is how you're to put out your waste at set times and these receptacles, etc. And then you just add a subsection D, which would be new, saying the provisions of section 3.12 subsection B do not apply to backyard composting. And then because we're introducing a new term to the nuisance bylaw, we would want to add a definition for that term, backyard composting, and we recommended just taking it directly from provincial legislation. And that would be the same as those regs. So that's the gist of it.
Awesome, thanks. Right.
just make sure I haven't missed any other. Oh, yeah, and communication would be important there. So for example, you know, the city of Fredericton and some other municipalities have good websites with information on what is backyard composting, how to do it safely, effectively, etc. And I think that'll be, we discussed that would be a really important complement to the bylaw amendment, A, to raise awareness and provide a bit of public education on how to do it, and B, to provide information on how to do it safely, because we understand that city staff will reasonably have some questions around, you know, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't result in all kinds of waste being in backyards. You know, nobody wants that, obviously. So I think that feedback from staff within the city will be valuable there. Maybe those specifications around you know, making sure it truly is backyard composting show up in the bylaws. Maybe it doesn't need to be in the bylaws. Maybe they just need to be communicated on the website as essentially a small p policy. But that's probably something to sort out through the stakeholder feedback side of things. Anyway, so I think at this point, if I understood correctly, Brad, we've shared the with Katrina, and we're in the new year to have a conversation with probably bylaw enforcement.
Yeah,
staff.
Todd, bylaw enforcement officer.
And we'll see where it goes from there.
And you said that because like the nuisance bylaw falls under the police, so like we may have to speak to them as well, or?
So bylaw enforcement officer falls under police.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so
Perfect.
I didn't know
Yeah.
if there'd be somebody else, but I asked him and he said no, just him was okay.
Yeah, okay, good, yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, we'll just have to pick a time, and I'd like to get something in the calendar
Yeah, sure.
before Christmas, but for after Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works too.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then for the educational component, would that just be talking to somebody like a staff person within the city?
Yeah, it'd really just be me, and then
Yeah,
through
okay.
me to comms. Like if you
Sure.
want to talk to them specifically, we can certainly set something up. But and I almost even suggested taking it out of the report because we don't really need council's approval to do something like that.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's a bad idea to make it clear that there's an educational intent. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I think it's good to inform them of that. But just for your information, that it wouldn't actually be necessary to get their approval for something like that.
Yeah, okay. Good.
I think the report was well put together. When I read it, I was like, wow.
He's a good writer,
This
yeah.
was
Yeah, it's
well, yeah. Those are the skills we need on council.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I think we may need to make a motion to accept, to propose this to the subcommittee.
It's up to you guys. I guess we don't know if the council's comfortable with doing that. We could certainly do that, but there also may be edits once we meet with Todd. So does the council want to approve it now based on his, and then like with the incorporation of edits, or do you want it to come back to the council after Todd is met with?
Thanks for clarifying that.
I'm perfectly comfortable with having it go forward. It's well written,
Yeah,
pretty clear.
Okay.
if it changes, it's just to make it better so it suits the subcommittee's requirements.
Yeah.
Unless
Great.
it changes drastically, then it would come back to the
Yeah.
council.
But if it's a minor
If it
change.
loses the spirit of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay, so then we could pass it, and then basically probably what will happen is we'll try and meet with Todd and maybe like the first week of January.
Sure.
Worst case the second, and then we can probably, as long as everybody's happy, we could potentially even get it to go through Environment and Sustainability Committee at the end of January. And then it would maybe end up with police sometime in February, and I mean if all goes well, but,
Yeah, exactly.
and it sometimes doesn't, sometimes doesn't, but
Yeah, okay.
we could aim for that trajectory if everybody's okay with it.
Good.
So could we entertain a motion to accept the presentation of Brad and Sean's food waste next step report? I'm not sure, I don't have the title of the report in
Yeah,
front of
that's
me.
no problem. Let's take a look. refresh my memory on my end as well. Yeah, we have it subject to supporting backyard composting and food waste reduction.
So that, as a motion to support, providing that report to the subcommittee, or to, what's the next step? We're giving it to bylaw officer.
Yeah,
We're
we're
discussing it
going to
with
be
bylaws.
taking it to the Environment and Sustainability, oh my goodness, Environment and Sustainability Standing Committee pending consultation with the bylaw enforcement officer,
Good.
That's,
something like
that's
that.
much better.
I don't know if I can put forward the motion here.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
about that, yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Keep looking over there, yeah.
And
So
Samara.
Phil motions.
And Samara Jordan, would you
Mary, you
like
want
to
to second it?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samara. Was it Samara or Jordan?
Jordan.
Jordan, thank you, Jordan.
Welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Hearing none, motion carried. We're on to question about Food Recovery Network.
Yeah, so I updated everybody on that last time. It's the project we're working on with Second Harvest Farm and Food Care. As part of that, Farm and Food Care has contracted Second Harvest to run the project. And as part of that agreement, they are to be hiring a project coordinator based in PEI. But they are having trouble finding somebody that suits exactly their needs. My feeling is there's probably lots of people that would be really well suited. It's a part-time position. I think they're starting to work with various networks on PEI. I'm wondering if the issue, like I haven't even seen it posted anywhere, and that sort of shocks me. So I think that they're working on that, but I also thought I had a few people in mind that I thought might work, but reached out and they aren't available. So I just wanted to pose the question to this group that if you have anybody in mind that might be interested, they'd be looking for somebody quite personable who would be comfortable reaching out to organizations, kind of doing, like a bit of pestering, and really kind of having those people skills and a passion for the subject matter, so reducing food waste. And
Could
looking
you-
to, sorry?
Could you circulate a job description?
Yeah, I can. I'll send it out to everybody.
Because
But-
it's out in the open now, we can talk
We
about
can,
this.
yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay.
We held off on the official release. I think we were talking about this last time because of
Yeah.
the potato situation, but we are hoping to do the official release right now, tentative date of January 10th. But it's public information still, but we haven't done the official release yet. But yeah, I'll circulate the job description, and if anybody comes to mind, feel free to just forward it. You can forward them my contact, you can forward them the job description. Right now, they have the job description, like the posting on LinkedIn, and for some reason it's saying that it's not live. I don't really know why. I think it expired and they're trying to work with LinkedIn to get it live again.
How many hours a week is it?
I think it's around 20.
20?
I think so.
For
But
how many weeks?
I have to check and see what they've posted. I think it's for a year, but the project's for a year, but I don't know if they've listed it for 6 months or for a year. Let me just check quickly.
Oh, that's all right, you can just send it to us later.
Sure. But anyways.
We can share with all our contacts and hopefully someone on PEI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Participate in this?
there were a link to the posting, and perhaps folks are still working through that, but once the link to the posting is available, if it could be shared with each of us, Katrina could share
Yeah.
that on different social media networks and otherwise.
For sure, yeah, if you could share, that'd be awesome. It's part-time, 1-year contract with possibility of extension, approximately 3 days a week.
Approximately what?
3 days a week,
For how many weeks?
a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
cool. Okay.
So yeah, I can just circulate that. I'll just send it right now, actually. But yeah, that's all on that one.
Okay.
Starting when?
I think basically as soon as possible.
Contact me. Let's talk about that. We might be able to job share the person and turn it into a full-time job.
Okay, interesting. I'd have to put you in touch with Second Harvest and see if that's something
Sure.
that they'd be willing to do, but yeah.
Okay.
That's an interesting, it might make it more attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the pay that Second Harvest is offering?
It's $22 to $24 an hour,
Okay, good.
and they're firm on that. They have living wage policies and that type of thing in place. So
To see a higher wage? It's good to see a
yeah,
slightly
I was
higher
happy
wage than we
to.
used to see, especially
yeah.
at a part-time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because that was the thing that we were talking about it, and unfortunately, they were saying that it might actually be more attractive to people in some ways if it were more hours and less pay, like to put it under that full-time lens. But I'm happy it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, any other comments on that? Thanks, Phil, for chiming in. Anybody else? Okay, next on the agenda is new meeting time. So I think Thursday was proposed,
Yeah, the fourth Thursday of the month.
4th.
I think everybody who responded said it was okay, except for, sorry, you, Bernie.
I just have many employers, and I
Yes.
had to see because there's lots of weekly meetings, and they happen to be in the evening. I think the 4th Thursday will be fine. I just can't confirm until the 1st of January
Okay.
or the 2nd.
Sure.
I'm still waiting to hear.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah, okay, maybe I'll reschedule it so that it's in everybody, because the Wednesday's definitely not gonna work, so maybe I'll reschedule for the Thursday, and you can let me
Yeah.
know on the 1st, and if that's not gonna
Correct.
work, we'll reschedule again, and if it's good, then we're good.
yeah.
If that's, okay. But yeah, just let me know when.
4th Thursday, we'll be doing that until when? For the
It
rest
will
of the
be
year,
through
foreseeable
April.
future?
We'll be through April, and then if Wednesdays worked better, we could move back, or we could stay, we could do whatever works, but I think the course that I'm taking would be till middle of April or something.
Okay. Good. Okay. And everybody's still good with 4th Thursday? Samara Jordan,
Yes,
still good with the 4th Thursday of the month?
yes, I can do that, absolutely. Yeah, I can do that.
And did the time change? No. 5:30?
5:30 seemed to be kind of like the consensus, but.
Earlier the better, I think. it
The
was.
earlier the better, but I think Brad, it was you that said 5:30 worked best for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually it's hard for me to get out. I usually leave work at 4:30.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
So 5:30 or 6?
5:30.
5:30.
Okay, so the next meeting would be the 27th of January?
Yep. At 5:30. I think we did 6 this evening because someone else was using this.
Yeah, they had it. They didn't end up using it. They weren't here when I got here,
Okay.
but they were scheduled in here till 6, so we had to go with it because we rescheduled this one. But
Okay. Sorry to keep you waiting on this.
oh no, it's okay.
Okay.
It's no worries. I just wanted to get it.
Next on the agenda is new business.
Well, we were, because now that the food waste aspect of the strategic plan is kind of, or, you know, the work that was identified around that is kind of moving on now.
Yes.
So we were kind of wondering what we, and then the other aspect of the food waste was the containers and such, and that's kind of still up in the air, but there's already initiatives that are happening. So we were just kind of wondering what would be a good thing to work on next.
Do you have any ideas?
Well, we were talking about, like, you know, local food. There was a conversation a while ago about like having that definition around what local would be. So we thought that we would, that would be one idea that we could go into, but we can also kind of think more about it and maybe discuss at the next meeting
Yeah.
on what our next steps should be
Yeah.
on the council. But yeah.
I think that's, I mean, unless there's other ideas to throw out, that's a good idea. I think like your sort of allotted hours potentially will be used up through January partly at least with a meeting with, say, the bylaw officer,
Yeah.
maybe some small edits to that
Yeah.
report, and then if you want to use the other hours to do some brainstorming.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what we were thinking.
But, yeah.
There's the strategic plan that we did.
Yeah. I can bring it up.
And that's a living document, it changes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
Uh,
not super detailed.
It's not detailed. No, we did have another, I think from the exercise we had done with the consultant,
Ideas.
ideas, like action ideas. There were short-term, long-term ideas. I don't know if we could share that with the council members, just to kind of get our ideas flowing.
Yeah, there's a whole, oh my goodness, wow.
There's lots there.
It's like a 5-page document, bullet points, single spaced.
Yeah.
Ideas.
And
Yeah.
it's just, we were throwing everything, right?
yeah,
At that session.
yeah.
And it was just put together on this document, and then what we did was we used some of that information, or the consultant used some of that information that was identified and turned it into the strategic plan of the things that were recurring most often as ideas. We may want to go back at this 5-pager and have a look. It may help generate more ideas.
The ones in the app that actually like made it into the strategic plan itself are enabling neighborhood gardens, which I kind of feel like that's sort of been, you know,
being done.
food affordability, which is really something that we haven't directly tackled. I mean, it's obviously a multifaceted issue and maybe something
Yeah.
not that's a bit too big to approach, but that's something. Engaging new voices from BIPOC and organization intersectionality. So like kind of more from the diversity lens, and then 10% green space, parkland, that kind of thing. So, and that's also a bit of a bigger discussion, and anyway, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the food affordability and, you know, local food production kind of go hand in hand. You know, one, it's, you know, when you're buying food that's locally produced, then you're giving your money to people that live in your community. And then, so it makes your community better.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but yeah, like, again, we can review the strategic plan document, and once we
Yeah.
start ticking off the things that we had, then we can just go to the next bullet point.
Yeah, the other thing that's a good resource too, I mean, that document's good, but also very messy and
Yeah.
a lot going on. Something else that exists, it's old now, but is the Let's Talk Food report, and that's on the city website. And it kind of, I was just going through it and lists a number of ideas. I'm not sure, I think it's got limited usability, but there might be some ideas
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like with the affordability, like meat is going up and up and up, and it's not going to go down anytime soon. So, but access to local meat is very bad on the island. So, you know, that I would like to see the asset map sort of have like a specific thing on where to get local meat, like the people that are like producing, you know, like added value product from local meat, and people that are actually, you know, selling island raised meat. So.
For sure. I think, yeah, one area, so I guess as a bit of an update too from my side, so we've sort of talked a little bit about like how my position's been a bit in flux and not super well defined. And I had originally been working quite heavily on the city's official plan update, but it kind of hit hiccup after hiccup, and I don't really know what's going to happen with it anyway. It's going to happen, but our department has kind of stepped back a little bit from that process, and so in that, my position has pivoted a little bit again, and I think the idea is to be more of sort of like it's food, health promotion, and how it intersects with climate change will be mostly the focus of my job, which means that there'll be a lot more staff capacity than there's been in the past for food-related projects. So my work over the next couple weeks and months is to set a bit of a direction for that work. And so my hope is maybe to have a bit of a plan from the city's perspective for the next food council meeting as well, for your input, but also maybe to see where we can work, like have that city work have them feed into one another too. So definitely keep me posted on what you guys are thinking, and I'll keep you guys posted as well, and we'll see where we can dovetail those things. Yeah.
Okay, so ideas to come. We can look over those if you want to share that document.
Yeah, I'll send the strategic priorities report again. And then, sorry?
Light reading over the holidays.
It can wait. It can also wait till the start of January.
Even I hadn't looked at the asset map in a while. It made me realize reaching out to some of the organizations to see or looking them up on the internet if they have a website to see what they are doing and having those discussions with them. What are they trying to accomplish and what kind of roadblocks are they having and challenges? And how can we maybe able to assist if it aligns with what we're doing as a food council? So there's a lot of information out there. It's just trying to collate it and put it together.
And one of my thoughts for kind of my new role is one of the first things I want to do is just start having a bunch of meetings with people.
Okay.
So if
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks, Phil. Merry
Take care.
Christmas.
Listening to you.
See you in the new year.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, thank you.
Yeah.
So if there's any of those particular stakeholders that people are interested in and want to either attend with me or have those meetings on like the council's behalf, I think that's really a good idea.
Okay, so we're hopefully if our meeting is on the 27th, we might be able to provide you with some ideas by the second or third week of January.
Sure.
Would that be? Then we'll have some kind of an agenda for the 4th.
Yeah. And do we want to set some other, because we're kind of skipping over a few topic areas that people have been working on at this meeting, and for the sake of a speedy meeting. But I know, Bernie, you've been working on some greenhouse stuff.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate having some recommendations?
Yes.
Yeah?
Especially after seeing this report.
Good. It's inspiration for us all.
It's nice to have a template when you've never done that kind of.
For sure. Yeah. So that would be great. And we'll also too be able to report back at that meeting how the process has gone of kind of like trying to work with staff on it, get it through these various things, and so that will also be some insight for how we proceed too. Hopefully we come back and see the process we chose worked great. And then what else? So then Samara, you're gonna have a bit of a report on the videos, and we'll meet with Jessica about the gardens. What other, I guess Megan and Sheena aren't here. So maybe I'll touch base with them about the rec center stuff. And from a city perspective, I think that's a bit of a priority too. So if they aren't able to continue with that and want to redirect, that may be something that we could absorb. Anything else that we've skipped over at this meeting that needs to be addressed at the next? Maybe a bit of an asset map update, because that's something on my list too, to give some thought as to next steps, so I can give an update on that.
It should be, and the agenda is very open to changes.
Yeah.
So if we add something and a day later after we receive the agenda, an opportunity comes up and it needs to be discussed at council, by all means, send it our way, and then we'll add it.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Anything else? And it's harder for folks on the phone to participate. Anything you'd like to add for new business, or any comments on tonight's council meeting?
No, I think you guys covered it.
Okay.
Great.
That said, I'd have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Sean has a motion to adjourn.
We have a seconder.
Aye.
Lots of seconders.
We have a seconder with Brad. I don't think we need to vote on this.
No.
So, motion adjourned. Thanks for coming out on the phone.